for cool 20 Ghana cedis to watch online on your smartphone, tablet, smart TV, or laptop. This is a 100% virtual production, so please note you can only watch all the shows on ghunite.co when you purchase the viewing link. To buy your viewing link, contact any of these numbers or send a WhatsApp to them: 05555 03246 or 05555 03789. GH Unite Virtual Concert.
How do you pronounce this guy's name? Kofi what?
Kenyatta.
Kenyatta.
Yes.
And you kept saying Kenyatta.
Did I say Kenyatta?
Yes.
Oh wow, that was a slip. Okay, it's Kenyatta, isn't it? It's a sort of a tacradilization of King Arthur. Yeah. Kenyatta. Oh, forgive me. Did I say Kenyatta?
You said Kenyatta yesterday. You said Kenyatta today.
Hey, Dama.
Because then if you say it twice, it means that's what you know.
I know it's Kenyatta. We know it's Kenyatta. Oh, fear.
But there's King Carl here. You know.
King Carl is here, indeed. As for your name, we won't get it wrong. King Carl Tonam Duho is a research consultant with Imani Africa. He's a member of the Strategic Hub on Organized Crime of the Royal United Service Institute in the United Kingdom. Yeah, big man indeed. And today he's helping us to discuss political parties and their security policies on the Tracker. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Now this is something we started doing as part of this year's election headquarters. We are seeking to have an informed electorate, and so we are taking the time to delve into what each political party says to us in their manifesto to figure out whether what they are telling us is worth taking. Alright, so we ask ourselves a bunch of questions. For example, we want to know, is this what the people asked for? We want to know, can it be done? Is it achievable? Is there money to make it happen? And of course, we want to know, what problem are they solving with it? Right? So we take these questions and more, and we run them through our thinking mill with our think tank Imani Africa, who are our partners on this. And of course, we share our findings with you so that you, of course, can walk into the ballot box more informed. King Carl Tonam Duho, always a pleasure to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
All right. So perhaps we'll start with what you have actually catalogued from the two political parties in the area of security, which is our focus today.
Okay. Well, when we talk about national security, sometimes we try to limit it to the military aspect. But security has gone beyond the military aspect. It covers environmental security issues. It covers the natural resource security issues. And then it covers a lot wider issues. So in Ghana, what we have seen is that we have a bit of a peaceful country, significantly across the sub-region in Africa. But there are petty crime, there are opportunistic crime, and there are violent crime that still persist. And there is evidence to suggest that violent crime results in more than 500 deaths per year. So it is a significant area of concern for our national development. And there are statistics showing that about 1.2 million unregistered guns still are in circulation in the country. Now, when we look at the two political parties, the main political parties, NPP and the NDC, the promises that they have made with regards to the security issues, we have two from the NPP, which are sort of continuing whatever they have been doing so far, and then 4 from the NDC. For example, the NPP indicated that they will continue to invest in new technologies to improve the crime-fighting capabilities of the security forces, including the continued deployment of cameras, that's CCTVs, to assist in fighting crime under the ongoing Alpha project, which they have done some few stuff around. Then they also promised to continue with the National Barracks regeneration program to improve the accommodation of the military. So those are the two things that they have under the security dimension.
Right.
Then for the NDC, they promised to immediately disband the militia set up by the President Akufo-Addo government. Then they also promised to commence a program to establish a university for security and intelligence studies. Then they promise to ensure that the police service has greater independence and is insulated from political interference. Then they promise to also ensure safe control of the proliferation of the small arms and light weapons in the country. But the question is that, what are some of the key problems that we have as a country? There's an index that have been developed by the Global Initiative for Transnational Organized Crime, INACT Organized Crime Index, and it indicated that Ghana is, out of the 15 West African countries, Ghana is the 10th with regards to security issues, and then across the whole Africa, 26 out of 54. And Nigeria, for example, is the most risky, and the other countries follow on. And we see that all our neighbors, Burkina Faso, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, we are the best among our peers. But the point is that there are issues about the proliferation of some of these things having an effect on our economy also. So the promises that the political parties make have to be considered critically. And we see that under the index there are two main areas. There's one on criminality score, and there's one on the state's resilience. And we saw that the criminality score, Ghana is not doing well when it comes to non-renewable resources crimes, with regards to cannabis trade, criminal networks, heroin trade, cocaine trade, synthetic drugs trade. So those are some of the critical hotspot areas that the government has to be looking at. But in general, it looks like our state operatives or our government has the capability, if we have put in the necessary resource, give it to them. If we're able to do that, they'll be able to do their work and be able to address the issues.
Fascinating. So essentially 2 promises from the NPP, 4 from the NDC. But as I heard you go through them, perhaps you can tell me, is there further detail on how they are going to actually achieve these things? So the NDC, for example, read their 3rd promise.
Okay, so the 3rd is to ensure that the police service has greater independence and is insulated from political interference.
All right. So currently we know how the police service is set up. Constitutionally, we know that they are, the police council is chaired by the vice president. The IGP is appointed by the president. These are constitutional provisions. So have they said how they are going to ensure police is more independent? I mean, because those 2 provisions alone, they guarantee that the police cannot be independent of politicians.
Yeah, that's a critical issue that needs to be considered, because the politicization of the whole system, not only the Ghana Police Service alone, the military, the BNI, the national security, and YOKO, and across board. So those are critical, hard issues that we have to consider as a nation, and these political parties have to make a specific commitment to them. And beyond that also, in this recently there was a commission set up, the Short Commission, that tried to investigate and proffer some recommendations concerning what happened at East Legon. But you see that a lot of those things have not been implemented. None have been featured in these promises. And then that becomes a critical concern for us as a nation.
I'm glad you've raised that, because there are several security issues that have come up during the tenure of the NPP, which I was hoping, if they were unable to deal with them in these first 4 years, they would be promising or aiming to deal with them if they win to give us to lead us for another 4 years. For example, kidnapping. You know, the Takrady girls issue. This started very soon. I mean, after 1 year of NPP's tenure, the Takrady girls saga began, and I mean, we still are not at the end. Okay, there is still a court case ongoing, but the girls have now been declared dead.
Yeah.
Okay, after DNA testing by the police.
Yeah, so
right.
those are some of the issues. We keep piling up the issues. It is not just that. Apart from the kidnapping, trafficking issues, the death of some of the MPs, and all of these things, and even the secessionist group issues, all of them have issues. That's how terrorism starts. And beyond that, apart from the operationalization of some of these things, the index that I quoted really stated that the report indicated that there is a market for an organized crime which is sort of institutionalized in a way that it seems as if it's not there, but it is there operating. And it means that our military forces, our police services, and our security agencies have to be more sophisticated, because the approach that the individuals who are involved in some of these issues are using continue to become sophisticated, and then they have to match them up as such. And we don't see some of these things in the manifesto that becomes a critical concern for us, because security issue is something that even when the thing is glaring, the political will to do is not there. So at least we want to see the promise, and then we call for accountability and march through until they have been fulfilled. So this is a serious worry for us as analysts.
Now, the police, when one party suggested that they would legalize Okada, we spoke with the police. The NDC has that as a campaign, as a manifesto promise. And we spoke to the police about it, whether it's enforceable. And what they told us was that there is a lot that needs to happen in order for any law to be enforceable. The first one is that it should be easier to identify and locate citizens. That's number one. And then the second one is that we must have eyes everywhere, because we don't have enough police to follow every citizen. So we must have eyes everywhere. And if those two things are done, it will greatly enhance the ability of law enforcement to deal with any crime, not just traffic traffic offenses. So they talked about the need for CCTV, but not only CCTV, but also a proper digital identification system, so that if you are captured on CCTV, they can identify you and find out where you live and pick you up.
Yeah, with regards to the CCTV, the promise that the NPP has made to continue the Alpha project is really on the CCTV, where they aim to purchase about 10,000 CCTV for the country.
Right.
So that captures a bit of that, but still not sufficient. And then the other issues apart from the CCTV still continue to be things that we have to look at.
Indeed, it won't be enough to just have the CCTV. Yeah. It will only be half of the solution. You would need a digital database that is reliable, and that would be the other half. Winston was looking through some of the things that have been promised earlier on the show, and it's exactly as you recounted. But I think it's of interest, the things that are missing. I am very interested in the things that are missing. For instance, we're talking about security, but I'm not seeing in any of the promises anything to do with ensuring our border security. Did you see anything like that?
Okay. So there is nothing like that, but the border security issues are very critical for us, knowing that our neighbors, Chad, Mali, Burkina Faso had some incidents recently, and then the other one, Cote d'Ivoire and Togo, still have there are openings there. During the COVID, we closed the borders, and we saw still there were calls for border closure, monitoring, all of that. So we see that the borders are porous, and we have to check that. Above that, we also need to consider piracy issues, where there are piracy attacks that came. There was one in August, and there's a need for us to look at some of these issues as a country.
Indeed. How about our ports? Recently there was this massive cache of guns that was seized at the ports. I need to follow up on that story, actually. I have no idea how that matter was resolved. Winston, do you have any updates on that? No? Okay, well, that's another area of security. We heard one of the promises of the NDC was that they would stem the proliferation of small arms. Okay, but how? How? What's the method by which they will do this? Is it enough to just say we will? Winston.
Yes, Kojo. So let me just take Ken Carl through a few. So he's talked about the NPP. As the NPP makes the point that they're going to continue the things they're doing. But Ken Carl, the point is, if you look at what the government has been doing so far, would you say what has been done so far is enough in ensuring security, and thus a continuation of it would ensure our security?
Well, for that, it is not enough. There's much that is expected to be done.
And what is that much that has to be done based on the analysis that you've done?
Yeah, so what we look at is that there is a systems issue. There is a bit of the operational aspect of the issues that I have to deal with, and the administrative issues, as we talked about the digital aspect of the thing, tracking the people. There are a lot of foreign individuals that enter this country that could be threats that we are not able to monitor. We are speaking about them, but how fast are we able to really address the issues is still a key concern.
So if I get the understanding, if you look at what the government or the NPP promises, based on what has been done so far, you do not think that their attempt at addressing the security situation in the country would ensure security?
So the thing is about convergence. It's about where we are starting and where we are going. Among our peers, we are doing a bit better, but
you know also that if you compare yourself to a dwarf, you'll always be tall.
Exactly. But so when we look at
let's look at best practice.
The best practice, we are way behind, and we have to really invest more into.
Okay. So, in effect, what we see promised by the governing NPP may not be the best way of addressing our current security concerns.
Yeah, the thing is, there are dimensions that are not even covered in the manifesto so far, because it's just two aspects.
And if it's not there, as Ken Ofori-Atta has taught us, if it's not in the manifesto, we can't expect it.
Exactly. So if it's not there, it can't go into the national strategy that will come when in case they win power the second time. And if nobody forces it to get in there, then there is no way that it will be part of the framework.
By way of refreshing our minds, what are those two dimensions that are not part of it?
The administrative aspect issues and the operational issues.
Okay, so that's it with the NPP. Let's look at the NDC, for instance. And the NDC has lots of promises when it comes to the security. So if you go to their manifesto, page 116, starting from page 116. So 10.11 manifesto says the next NDC government will immediately disband the militia set by President Akufo-Addo. I don't know. Reopen an inquiry.
Well, they've told you which militia they will disband, right?
Yes, they've told you which militia.
So if your militia doesn't fall under that category, you don't have to worry.
And it says reopen an inquiry into Ayo West Logan vigilante incident, commence a program to establish a university for security and intelligence studies, and empower the 48th Engineers Regiment to construct barracks and living accommodation. But if I go down further, it talks about reviewing compensation package for personnel who lose their lives or get injured, clear the backlog of promotions and ensure timely promotions based on meritocracy and transparency. Then there's a bit about the National Security Council, the Ghana Armed Forces, and external peacekeeping, the Ghana Police Service. So let's look at the NDC's manifesto and what it promises in the security area. First, let's start with the general security promise, which it talks about disbanding militia set by Akufo-Addo, and also talks about the need for the establishment of a university for security and intelligence studies. Do we need that, for instance?
Yeah, for that, we need the educational institutions with regards to the security. But the point is that the ones we have right now, how are we supporting them?
So I guess it raises the question, which problem is that solving?
So, well,
you are going to
be part of the
build an institution.
Aspect,
but is that so? The question is, if we already have educational institutions that deal with security, and we still have a security problem, then will adding another educational institution solve the problem?
That's the issue.
So King Carl, we have the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center.
Thank you.
We have the Ghana Armed Forces Staff College, which they run programs in defense, intelligence, and what have you. Do we need to establish another university of security and intelligence?
It's not needed.
It's not needed.
It's not needed.
So that promise, you think we don't need that particular promise? Okay. And there's establish a new military training and recruit academy in northern sector of the country, and establish one police station and barracks in each district where there is none to cater for increased population.
Yeah, for the barracks, there's a need for us to reach the places that we don't have. But they still talk about another institution over there. But if we have the current ones, we can still build them up and then let them do the training that we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's look at a few more of this, because there's also the talk about when it gets to the National Security Council, ensure that National Security Council operates within its constitutional and legal mandate and adequately equip and resource the National Security Council to perform its mandated intelligence and digitize the operations of the Secretariat and invest in security infrastructure, including ICT, but also to design in collaboration with Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center and other security experts national strategies that ensure the security and peace of all Ghanaians. Do you get the impression that the National Security Council currently is not performing its mandated function?
Yeah, so the thing is, we need improvement, and every government has to work towards that, improving that. So that's the general framework that they are speaking in that context.
And under the armed forces, there's a talk of, building a military hospital at Ho, Bolgatanga, and Seshi also, and also complete and equip the Kumasi Military Hospital in the Central Command as a matter of urgency. What do you take? What was your take on that?
Yeah. So the question is that at the back of these promises, what analysis have been done? What's the need assessment that they have done before they are making all of these promises? There are things that we have to look out, but prioritization and the source of the funding for all of those things have to be considered by the NDC.
Just a way of also learning. And so, if we have functioning hospitals, we have a regional hospital in Ho, we have a municipal assembly hospital in Ho, we have private facilities. Must we necessarily be thinking of a military hospital? Or we think that the military hospital, it goes in to also augment the provision of healthcare delivery for the general populace, but does the military alone would need this facility?
Well, there are dynamics. The way the military hospitals operate is different from the way the normal ones operate. But the thing that we have to look at as a nation is that how are we resourcing the ones that we have currently, and then what is the need assessment that we are making before we are calling for the new ones as well.
And in talking about the current one, what do you think we're doing with the current one?
The current and the whole, for example, the whole. It's not a military hospital and it's being operated, but we have to resource them as much as possible and see how best we can use them effectively.
Okay.
Well, I guess that walks us through each of the promises. Luckily, there are only 6 of them, so we could get a bit in depth with each one and ask all the key questions. So there you go. You are now an informed electorate. You now know what each party is offering you, and you can tell for yourself whether any of these promises are going to make you safer. Are you going to be safer? So when you go into the ballot box on the 7th of December, I think this will help. If your main issue on which you will vote is security, I guess I hope we've helped you, right?
We certainly have, Coach. Just by way of information, so we're told that when it comes to the recent nominations that came into the country, we're told the recipient of the good is on remand into police custody to reappear on 28th of October. An investigation is ongoing. It involves Interpol for the arrest of the shipper.
Right. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yes, just by way of information from the Ghana Police Service.
Thank you. On the 11th of October, there was a story in Daily Graphic that said that 6 people were arrested in connection with illegal arms importation into Ghana. Now, these 6 were said to be owners of some of the parcels that were in the container. But also the police were saying that the importers and agents for the items also failed to list the pistols and ammunition on the import declaration form that had the other items listed on it. So it'll be worth checking whether this individual who is to return to court is one of these 6 or some other individual, and in which capacity is he related to the goods? You know, is he one of the owners of the parcels in there, or has he been identified as the individual responsible for the smuggling of these guns? So we would love to have some more information from the police so that we can update the audience on that. But thank you for that update, Winston. And thank you, King Carl Tonam Duho, research consultant with Imani Africa, member of the Strategic Hub on Organized Crime of the Royal United Services Institute in the United Kingdom. King Carl, it's always a pleasure. Until the next Manifesto Tracker, have a wonderful time. All right, it's 9:32, and we've still got a bit more to do on the Super Morning Show. So stay with us. We're going to be back in just a while. First, though, everything you could possibly need to know about Go TV.
Telly, make you hurry up. I got football appointment.
Hey, you that. Football appointment.
Telly, the new football season drop.
Really?